Namaskar. Welcome to this session of Bhagavad Gita overview for the Adhyaya 5th and 6th. Start with a prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as you know, Bhagavad Gita comprises of 700 shlokas in the Mahabharata, and it is divided in 18 adhyayas by Sri Vyas ji. First adhyaya was the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, where Arjuna gets sorrow, and the second adhyaya Bhagwan gives him the message of the divine knowledge, and then gives him message of the path of action, the Karma-Yoga, and finally describes the condition of the wise person who is Sthita Prajna, who is in wisdom. In the 3rd to the 17th adhyaya, Bhagwan gives a detailed description of all the adhyayas and the sadhana, and finally in the 18th adhyaya summarizes all that he has said. So the first three adhyayas are, the first adhyaya is about the moha and the dukkha of Arjuna, which is because of his dharma, adharma viveka. He doesn't know what is the right thing to do, and that's why he is the person who is the candidate for this Atma Jnana. Second adhyaya is all about Atma Jnana, Karma Yoga and Sthita Prajna. And the third adhyaya is, one gives a detailed description of Karma Yoga. The fourth adhyaya is, Shree Krishna describes how we can renounce all the karma with the help of the self-knowledge, that is from action, how we can go towards inaction or akarma. In the third adhyaya, Bhagavan tells about the different attitudes, the 4 attitudes of Karma Yoga: attitude of duty, the attitude of yagna, attitude of prasada buddhi, and the attitude of the cosmic cycle, how we can contribute in the Srushti Chakra. And he summarizes all the attitudes. From akarma we have to come to karma, and then we have to do karma with the dharma buddhi, the role of the duty with the values in life, the Daivi Sampatti, and then to do yagna buddhi, that is Ishwara Arpana Bhav, for Ishwara Prasannata, Ishwara Agnya, and then to accept all the results as a prasad buddhi, sharing with the team, and nimitta bhav, that is instrument as we contribute to the Srushti Chakra. The 4th adhyaya is about the Jnana Karma-Sanyasa, how we can still do the karma with understanding that I am the Karta Akarma Swarupa, and that is how we can do in our life, and then gradually the actions will fall apart as a ripened fruit. The 5th adhyaya is about Karma-Sanyasa Yoga. First, initially there is still the confusion between Karma Yoga and Karma Sanyasa. Then Bhagavan describes all the attributes of the Sankhya Yogi, the wise person, the Karma Yogi. And then he talks about the Jnana Karma Sanyasa, how with the help of this knowledge we can renounce actions. And finally, the last 3 shlokas are the link to the 6th adhyaya, which is the adhyaya for meditation, Atma Sanyama Yoga. So let's start with the first shloka of the 5th adhyaya, which starts with the Arjuna's question, again similar to that of the 3rd adhyaya, where he had a confusion whether to do Jnana or Karma. Here he has a confusion whether to do Karma Yoga or Karma Sanyasa. And he asks again that you praise both the Karma Yoga as well as Karma Sanyasa, and I don't know which one is beneficial to me. Please tell me one thing, and which is guaranteed for success, for Shreya, for Moksha. That is what Arjuna is interested in. And Bhagavan says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karavubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. So Bhagavan says that both are important. Sanyasa as well as Karma Yoga, both Nishreyasa Karavubhau, both are important because they both lead to the highest goal. But out of these two, he is telling Karma Yoga is Vishishyate, Vishesh. It is more superior to renunciation, because most of us are eligible. They are adhikari for Karma Yoga, and Gita ji is for people like us. Upanishads is for the people, seekers who are much higher. They're more eligible for Jnana and Sannyasa. But here, because in the worldly life, Karma Yoga is very important for Antakarana Shuddhi, Bhagavan is telling us that that is superior to renunciation, and that's why we should start our journey with Karma Yoga as the first sadhana. And then he says both Karma Yoga and Karma-Sanyasi, both are same because both do not have Raga Dvesha. They both have, know that they are the Nitya Sannyasi, not just somebody who has Raga Dvesha or just somebody who's wearing saffron clothes is not a sannyasi in the eyes of the Lord, but those who have washed off their Raga Dvesha and they have achieved Samatva, equanimity. They are the people who really become happy. And this is only possible by Karma Yoga and Vichara, by Viveka. We can do this. So Bhagavan is telling that right understanding is important. He says immature people believe Pruthak Bala. Pruthak Bala, those who don't have maturity in understanding, believe that knowledge, Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga give different results. But not the wise people. What do the wise people think? The wise people think that both of these Sankhya and Karma and Karma-Sanyasa Gnana, they both achieve the same result because ultimately it is the Gnana through which we can achieve moksha, which is the highest attainment of our life. So both Karma Yoga and Karma-Sanyasa ultimately leads to our internal purity of our mind, our antakarana, and then with the knowledge we can achieve the moksha, which is the ultimate goal of our life. So the true vision according to Lord is the state which is achieved by knowledge, yat sankhya prapyate sthanam. The state which is achieved by knowledge, the same tatyogairapi gamyate, that the same is achieved by Karma Yoga, ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha, both achieve the same state, yah pashyati sa pashyati, and one who knows this, he knows truly what is the reality, and that is the same. There is no alternative to Gnana. All the different paths like Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gnana Yoga, everything leads to one Gnana Nishtha. All paths lead to one path, Gnana, and then ultimately to Moksha. So these are all the different options in sadhana. Finally, we have to reach the Gnana, to reach the Moksha. That is what Bhagavan Shree Krishna is explaining to us. And he says, the immature karma tyaga is painful. Somebody wants to renounce this world, who doesn't have the maturity of the mind, but then in immaturity renounces this world. Those who have not practiced Karma Yoga, renunciation, Bhagavan says, Dukkham aptum ayogataha. Ayogata means it is very miserable, painful. Somebody who has not practiced Karma Yoga, but the Muni who has practiced Karma Yoga, who has achieved Antakaran Shuddhi, for that Muni, Yoga Yukto Munir Brahman Nachirena Digachati, will achieve the highest state, the purity, the moksha very soon, because Karma Yoga ultimately leads to purity, Shuddhi, and then finally we become eligible for Gnana. And what is that link or the steps from Karma Yoga to Gnana? The sadhana and the sadhya viveka is what Bhagavan Krishna is doing. He said, Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. Karma Yoga, when person does, he purifies the inner mind, and then he becomes Vijitatma Bhavati. He achieves an internal control, a self-restraint over his own body, mind, and the senses. And this person becomes Jitendriya. He then develops mastery over his own senses. And then he sees the oneness amongst everything. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Kurvannapi na lipyate. And then no actions bind to him, because then with this wisdom, this knowledge, he knows that he is not the Karta. He has the self-knowledge, the Atma Jnana. And this is how we can obtain and achieve. These are the steps of this Adhyatma Sadhana, a spiritual journey. And this is how and then Arjuna probably is asking, how does this knowledge will manifest in our life? How we can know? And then Bhagavan is describing that understanding of the wise person who has firm wisdom, who is having the knowledge. Naivam kinchit karomiti. He doesn't know I am doing anything. He says, I am not doing anything. Yukto tattvavita. Tattvavita means the wise person understands. Iti yuktaha, that he understands this way. What does he understand? Pashyan, Shrunuvan, Spushan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Swashan. While doing all these activities, by seeing, by listening, by touching, by smelling, by eating, by walking, while sleeping, by breathing, all these activities, Pralapan, Visrujan, Grunan, Unmishan, Nimishan api, while speaking, forgetting, accepting, opening eyes, all the different actions or activities that we do, closing eyes, firmly knows that it is all these indriyani indriyarteshu vartanta iti dharayan. All the sense organs engage in their objects. He says this is all the the drama of the anatma. He knows I am not doing anything. I am the sakshi. I am the observer. I am the atma tattva. He does not have any false pride to this limited body, mind, sense complex. He understands that I am the non-doer, aham karomiti. That is what he understands, and this is how what is understanding of the wise person. That's why it does not get attached in this world. And how does a wise man live in this world? Bhagavan Shree Krishna says he surrenders Brahmanya Adhyaya Karmani, surrenders all his actions to the Lord, because Karma Yoga, one of the bhavana is Ishwara Arpana Bhavana, performs all the actions without getting bound to the fruits of the action or the results of the action. He accepts all the results like he's accepting Prasada Buddhi. This is the Karma Yoga, and that's why he does not get bound to any sins. Lipyatena sapapena, and he lives like a lotus leaf lives in water. Padma Patra Imam Vasa says, just like a lotus leaf, when it lives in water, does not get attached to water. As you put water on top of it, it just falls off, does not get attached to the water, even though it lives in the water. That is how the wise man lives in this world, and it does not have that pride, attachments, ahankara, and all these are the ones that bind us to this world. But this person, the wise man, does not have this kind of pride or ahankara or attachments. So the main benefit of Karma Yoga is our purity of our mind, inner purification. Bhagavan says, Kayana manasa buddhya kevalai rindriyairapi. The Karma Yogi performs all his selfless actions with the body, mind, senses. And Sangam Tyaktva, he does not have any attachment to results, and he does Atma Shuddhaye, just does his actions, selfless actions for purity of the inner mind, because that is the first goal for us. Unless we have a purity, we cannot understand this divine knowledge. And that's why Yogi works with that detachment from the body, mind, and senses. And this is how the Yogi does Yukta Purusha. He practices Karma Yoga with awareness. He renounces all the results of action, and he achieves eternal peace. Shanti Mapnoti Naishtikam. Whereas the Ayukta, one who does not understand, have the right understanding, one who is not aware, is unaware, acts by a lot of selfish desires, Halo Sakte Nivadyate, gets attached to the results and gets attached to this samsara in this world, and he gets only ashanti. So how the wise man lives happily in this world, Bhagavan describes Vashi, that person who has control over all this inner self. Sarva karmani manasa sanyamya, renounces all the actions by his mind. Navadware pure dehi. This body is consisting of 9 gates. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, and our excretory and the urinary organs. So this person just remains happily with a sukham aste, lives happily inside in these gates by not doing anything, by not getting anything done, knows that I am not this body, mind, senses. It is all this is the drama of this the drama of this body, and I am separate from this. I am Ashtanga, I am Shuddha Atma Swarupa, and that's what Shree Krishna tells in the next, that pure consciousness, the Shuddha Atma Swarupa, is a Sangha, Akarta. God does not create, it is not there in the Atma. The Kartrutva, our doership, it is all part of Anatma. Karma, all our actions are part of Guna, and Karma Vibhaga, that is Anatma, and all the Karma Phala Sanyoga, all our attachments, all our actions, attachments to the fruits of the actions, are also, all these they happen in the nature. Swabhava Pravartate happens in the Anatma, and this is not the area of Atma Swarupa. All the virtues, vices, Papa Punya are in Anatma. They are the cause for samsara. But that omnipresent Vyapak consciousness, Paramatma, does not perceive anyone's sins or good deeds. Self-knowledge is Ajnanena Vrutam Gnanam. All of our self-knowledge is obscured. It is concealed by Ajnana. Tena Muhyanti Jantavaha. That's why everybody is in attachment, and they get attached to this moha and delusion in this world. That is what is the root cause of the problem, which we have to correct. We have to remove this ajnana so that our real knowledge, our real self can become known to us. That is what we need to do. And then Shree Krishna praises self-knowledge and gives an example of sunlight. He says, one whose ignorance is destroyed by this Atma Jnana, Vesham Aditya Vajnanam, just like a sunlight illuminates everything, eliminates darkness, the self-knowledge also illuminates everything. It eliminates all this ajnana, and this eternal consciousness is seen, because Brahma Swarup itself is Swayam Prakasha. Not it is self-effulgent, but it also illuminates or knows everything else. It is Paraprakasha also. And what are the steps of the pursuit of this Gnana Sadhana, of the knowledge? After Antakarana Shuddhi, after this eligibility, The Jnana sadhana comprises of three main steps. First is the Shravana. Shravana is listening to this Guru, to Vedas from the Guru, a learned Guru, and then Tadatmanaha, then to aspire to weed out all the doubts, the sanshaya that are created inside our mind, and then a firm resolve to change our viparit sanskaras. Our old habits have to be changed by a process of meditation, which is a Vedantic meditation called nididhyasana. And this is only the way we can achieve this goal of Brahma Swarupa, understanding our true inner self. And these are the steps of Jnana Sadhana. And then what is the fruit? What is the ultimate result? We get freedom after death. We don't have to take other life, cycle of death, birth and death. We are liberated from this. And this is called Videha Mukti. That is one of the phala of the Jnana. Main phala is Sadeha Mukti. In this life only we get Mukti. We get freedom from all this, and after death also we get a freedom from the samsara chakra, that is from the cycle of birth and death. So how are these wise people? They are Samatva Buddhi, they are equanimous, they see all the oneness, they don't see all the differences. Pandita, the wise people are one, they are equanimous. In between the wise and the humble Brahmin, they don't see any differentiation between the cow and the elephant, and the dog and the outcast. They see the same equanimity. They see the vision is the same. The conduct is definitely different with all them, but the vision, they see the same Atma Tattva within everyone. And then the goal of human life is to see this one Brahma Darshan, Samadarshan. And in this world, they are the people who have this self-restraint, those who can see, or they are established in this one Samaswarup Brahma. Because Brahma is Sama. Sama and Brahma, Bhagavan says, both of them are same. They're dosha. It's completely innocent. It does not have any attributes. And that's why one who is firmly rooted in Samatva is firmly rooted in Brahma. And that is the real victory of our life, success of our life, to be imbibed or to be rooted well within Samatva. And that Samatva person who is eligible for the Atma Jnana, his focus, his intellect is one, has no attachments. And after getting what he likes, does not get too attached or related about it, does not have too much of raga. And after getting what he does not like, does not become too upset, does not have too much of dvesha. And that person is the person who is eligible for the Atma Jnana. And then Bhagavan describes what is the real happiness, whether it is outside or it is inside. He says, Bahya Sparsheshu Saktatma, person who is unattached to the outer happiness by the contact of the sense organs with the objects. When we get this sense happiness, obtains this eternal happiness is one own self, and that is what the wise person achieves by meditation. That balanced person who is firmly connected with the divinity experiences everlasting happiness. Sukham akshayam ashnute, that is everlasting, it is a divine bliss. And that's what our Vedanta tells us, that real happiness or real peace is inside us, it is not outside. Even if we think that we get all the happiness by interacting or achieving all these objects from outside, and that's why we keep looking outside, but the real happiness is when we go deep within us. And that's why Bhagavan says the sense gratification is deprecated. It should not be the goal of life. It causes a lot of pain. Yehi sansparsha jab hoga. These pleasures that we obtain by the contact of the senses with the objects, dukkhayo nava evate. They are the cause for miseries. We feel that it gives us happiness, but that happiness is very transient. It causes attachment, and then it causes a lot of greed because we want it again and again. And sometimes we don't get happiness from the same object. Sometimes we get it, and ultimately we only get miseries and pain by overindulgence into this, and it creates lots of problem in our life. Even good food, when we get attached to it, we keep having that, and that creates diseases, miseries for us. And they are adyantavanta kaunteya. They are all transient. They come and go. That's why don't get attached to all these transient things in life. Nateshu ramate bhuta. Bhagavan says, if wise people don't indulge in them, that is how they understand. And more sense pleasures leads to more miseries. That is understanding the wise person. That is what we need to understand, that we have to just use them as much as is necessary rather than overindulging in these sense pleasures. And that is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us. So he says, one who controls the desires and angers, Shaknoti Haivaya Sodum, is truly, Praksharira Vimokshanat, is a truly happy person. Sukhi Sukhi Naraha, one who is a truly happy person is able to control in this life before the body comes to an end. Kama Krodhot Bhavam Vegam, that Vega, that force of desires and anger that comes to us, we know that it is now coming, the desire, that anger. One has to become aware of it and try to control it, try to sublimate it. And that is the one who is a fulfilled yogi, one who is able to control this kind of a Kama, Krodha, Vega. That self-restraint is a true success of life. And then the attributes of the wise person, one who for sure, Antaha Sukha, who has happiness and felt that happiness is inside us. Antah Arama, that peace is also inside us. Anta Jyoti, all the light of knowledge is inside us. When this yogi who understands this, he becomes one with the Brahman, achieves the liberation and moksha. And the Rishi who has seen such kind of tattva, those who have seen this, achieve freedom, moksha, they live for the betterment of all. Sarva Bhuta Hiterata, Yatatmana, their senses are under their control. All the doubts, Chinna Dveda, the doubts have been destroyed. And Kshina Kalmashaha, all their sins and impurities have also been washed away by this knowledge. And the culmination of the wise Sankhya Yogi, Kama Krodha Vyuktanam, they are devoid of desires and anger. They are Yatinam, they constantly perform efforts, they are aware. Their mind is balanced, Sahaja Sanyama, Viditatmanam, they know their self truly. Avita Brahma Nirvanam Vartate, from all sides they have achieved this eternal peace and they are truly independent, they are completely fulfilled. That is the Atma Swarupa, those who are the Gyani Purusha. So here comes the end of the 5th Adhyaya. The last 3 shlokas of the 5th Adhyaya are the link to the 6th Adhyaya, which is the Adhyaya for meditation and Atma Sanyama. So Bhagavan talks about meditation. He says, Sparshan Krutva Bahir Bhaya. In meditation, we have to control our thoughts. All the outer objects have to be just kept outside. Chakshu Shaivantare Bhruvoho. We have to focus our mind at the center of the eyebrows. Prana Pano Samo Krutva. We have to keep our breath, the inhaling and the exhaling must be in balance. Nasa Bhantara Charino. Keep our breath in balance because there is a close relationship between our breath and our mind. If we keep our breath under control, our mind also quietens down and helps us to focus in meditation. And talks about the meditator, the dhyata. How should that person be? Yatendriya Mano Buddhihi. That person must have a control over his mind, sense, mind, intellect must be under control. Only then that person can go deep into meditation. Moksha Parayana, one whose goal is to become free from this world, must be a mumukshu. And Vigaticha Bhaya Krodha has let go of all the desires, fear and anger, has done Karma-Yoga and has developed some kind of a Shuddhi, as his desires has fulfilled. Otherwise, only then we will be able to go into meditation. If we have so many desires of this world, then we cannot probably go into deep meditation. Sahasada Mukta Naraha, that person becomes really free. And the final shloka of the 5th Adhyaya, Bhagavan talks about the Sopathik meditation, that the Sopathik Dhyana. He says, Gnatva Mam, knowing me thus as Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam, as the beneficiary of all the Yagna and the Tapa. When we do Yagna and Tapa, we meditate on a Ishvara Tattva. Bhagavan says, knowing me as all these beneficiary, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, as the Lord of all the beings, Surudam Sarva Bhutanam, as a friend of everyone who helps us without any reciprocation. Shantim Gruchati, that person, that wise person achieves eternal bliss because he becomes one with me in Samadhi and gets moksha and develops oneness. So with this we come to the end of the 5th Adhyaya, which tells us that we should try to see Sarvatra, sameness, Samatva, everywhere Samadarshana. That should be our goal in life. True victory of ourselves can only be achieved by inner engineering, by inner control, restraint over our body, mind and senses, so that we don't get affected by any worldly situation. Somebody telling us something, we get affected. Somebody, doing something to us, we get affected. And that does not give rise to a good, health or happiness in life. But ultimate happiness is within us. The eternal bliss is important within us. And this we can only achieve by developing some kind of a vairagya, understanding that not giving undue importance to the worldly things and being equipoised, Samatva, in any situation, which is the main message of Gitaji. And the entire spiritual journey is to develop this kind of a Samatva in all the dualities of the world so that we can achieve the Almighty. With this we come to the end of the 5th Adhyaya. Om Tat Satiti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shree Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma-Sanyasa Yogo Nama Panchamodhyaya. So now let's look at the sixth Adhyaya, which is the Adhyaya of Atma-Sanyama Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Now Atma-Sanyama, self-control or self-restraint over our own body, our mind, our senses, our intellect, chitta, ahankara. It's very, very important to go on the spiritual path. And all the journey is about this self-restraint. And for this, the most important sadhana is dhyaan. Dhyaan is very important because meditation is not possible to get all this awareness and the self-restraint without meditation. And Adhyaya 6 describes the Vedantic meditation, which is also called nididhyasana, and how we can assimilate this knowledge that Bhagavan has given us about Atma, about Anatma, about Atma Sanyama, how we can understand this and live our life accordingly. So we have already heard the knowledge, Shravana, knowledge becomes steady, we get a Paroksha Jnana, and then there are many, many Viparit Sanskara. Viparit Sanskara means our old habits. We are all attached to our own body, mind, senses. And these Viparit Sanskaras doesn't allow this knowledge to imbibe within us. And that's why we have to do meditation, dhyana, nididhyasana. And body has to become very quiet and the mind has to become very still to do this dhyana. And that is what Bhagavan is going to describe in this sixth Adhyaya. So from the second to the fifth Adhyaya, Bhagavan described the goal, Atma Jnana, and then described how we can achieve this journey, the spiritual journey. Initially, Antakarana Shuddhi, purity by Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. And then next is the Jnana Sadhana, the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. And this can be only achieved by Atma Sanyama Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. And only then we can understand this Atma Jnana, which can help us to relieve our Jnana, the real problem, the root of the problem, which can lead to moksha, ultimately making us know that we are this infinite, omnipresent Atma Tattva, which leads us to moksha. So the sixth Adhyaya starts with the first sentence of the Lord. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi cha yogi cha niraghnirna chakriyaha. So Bhagavan is now highlighting again the importance of Karma Yoga, because if you want to go into meditation or Atma Sanyama Yoga, Karma Yoga is the first step. Without that Antakarana Shuddhi, without those dissolution of the Raga Dvesha, it is not possible to go into meditation. Bhagavan says one who has done his Kartavya Karma, Aryam Karma Karoti, and leaving all the attachments to the fruits of the actions, Anashrita, without any attachment, Sa Sanyasi cha Yogi cha. That Sanyasi and Karma Yogi is the same. He is a true Yogi because they have given up the Karma Phala attachment, the Karma Phala Tyaga they have done. Not just the person who has given up actions and has taken on the saffron clothes or saffron robes, that person is not just a sannyasi, nan niraghnirna. One who has given up Agni Kriya is not a sannyasi according to Lord. The person who has given up the Karma Phala Tyaga, that person is a Karma Yogi and a sannyasi both. Not just the person who has done Karma-Sanyasa, that person is not just a sannyasi. And then Bhagavan says there are two lifestyles, Nishtha, the Jnana Karma, but both of them are the same. Bhagavan is trying to now explain. Arjuna had a lot of confusion in the third to the fifth Adhyaya, that what about Karma Yoga, whether I should do Karma Yoga or Karma-Sanyasa. He had a lot of confusion, and Bhagavan is now trying to clarify that and says Sanyasa and Karma Yoga is one and the same. Yam Sanyasamiti Prahu, Yogam Tam Vitti Pandava. One who has not left his binding desires does not even become a yogi. So we have to leave our own binding desires to become free from this world and to become a Karma Sannyasi or a Karma Yogi, and both have to renounce the desires. And finally, the third shloka is a very important shloka, because here Bhagavan clearly shows the end to the Arjun's dilemma. All his questions at the beginning of the third and the fifth Adhyaya, whether I should do Jnana Karma, whether I should do Karma Yoga or Karma Sanyasa, all these questions it comes to an end here. Aru rukshor muner yogam karma karanam uchyate yoga rudhasya tasyaiva shamah karanam uchyate. Bhagavan says, one who is aruruksha. Aruruksha means one who wants to ascend in the path of yoga. For that person, karma karana uchyate. For that person, karma yoga is the means to achieve that, to ascend on the path of yoga. But for person who has yoga rudha, one who has already ascended on the path, who has become a yoga rudha, tasyaiva, for that person, shama karana uchyate. For that person, shama, nivrutti, karma nivrutti or sannyasa or jnana is the means for that person. So it clearly shows that these are the two, and then gives a definition of who is a yoga rudha, who is a person who has already ascended on the yoga path. That person has self-restraint of three things. One is indriya sanyama, has no attraction in the sense objects. Yadahi nendriyartheshu na karma svanushatyate, does not have attachment to actions. That shows there is a restraint over his body. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi, renounces all the worldly selfish desires. That shows he has a control over his mind. Tad yoga rudhastadocyate, that person is considered to be having become a yoga rudha, who has already ascended on the path. So till that time, we have the complete self-restraint. We have to continuously perform karma yoga. And when we become yoga rudha, then we can have a shama karana muchyate. We can go into Karma-Sanyasa or nivrutti path and then focus on the knowledge path. That is what Bhagavan Krishna is trying to tell us. And the next shloka is also a very beautiful shloka. It says, Uddharetatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, you have to make your own efforts to become yoga rudha. Nobody is going to tell you, given you destiny, that you will become yoga rudha. Your own actions, do it in such a way, elevate yourself by your own action. Uddharet atmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadayet. Don't let yourself down by your own self. Atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu. You can become your best friend. Atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Or you can become your best enemy. It is all up to you. You have to have this Atma Krupa, Arjuna. You have to walk by your own efforts. Purushartha is the most important on this spiritual journey. You have to have persistence, perseverance, and at the same time, you have to have a lot of patience, Arjuna. This is not a short path. This is a long path. So, Uddhared Atmanatmanam means the responsibility for all the change is my own, Atma Krupa. I have to elevate myself by my own self. We have to come out of our false beliefs, misconceptions for the change to happen. And this change has to happen very slowly. We have to make small changes in our daily routines and keep persistently doing hard work. Deliberate perseverance is very important. Daily introspection, and we need to have a lot of patience. Atmanam avasadaya, na avasadaya. Don't let yourself down. Don't ruin yourself. Don't have negative thoughts. Don't give negative energy to yourself. But we have to be open for change. Avoid thoughts or actions which bring us down. Make the best use of the time and opportunity that we all have. Make goals in life and work towards them. There are no shortcuts. Do what needs to be done. And whenever there is an obstacle in the path, we have to rise above them. We have to start walking, make a new way if there is no way available. Just like a river is flowing and there is a rock in between, the river will find its way. Similarly, in life also we have to flow, keep flowing like a river. And that is what Bhagavan Shree Krishna is telling us. And then he is explaining how you can make your own self as your own best friend or your own enemy. For whom this mind is our best friend or a best enemy. He says, Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha. One who has achieved victory over his own self, mind, body, mind and intellect. That person, for that person, the body-mind complex is a friend of yours. But for a person who does not have this kind of a restraint, self-restraint, mind becomes our own enemy because it becomes lazy, does not give us the right kind of energy, creates a lot of obstacles on the path. And that's why the real victory for us, for success in life, is the victory of ours over our own mind. And that is what we need to pursue. So self-restraint is real happiness. Jitatmana prashantasya. One who has control over his body, mind, senses, intellect becomes tranquil, has eternal bliss, and Paramatma samahita. And with this bliss, we can pursue on the path to attain the Almighty divinity. Is already established in this person, and that person has the Samatva, as a Shitoshna Ushna Sukha Dukkeshu. In all the Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, all these dualities, Mana, Apamana, everywhere, praise, criticism, that person is remaining balanced, is equanimous, and that is only this wise person who is a Sahaj Samatva, this kind of, he is firmly established in the wisdom of the scriptures and his or her own experience, is conquered over own senses, and he sees one Samaloshtashma Kanchanaha. In all these objects, different objects like a sand, stone, or gold, he has a Sama Buddhi, does not have too much of Mahatma Buddhi anywhere, does not get attached anywhere, because his vision is not on the forms, but his vision is on the substratum. And this person, integrated person, Yukta, Ityuchate Yogi, this Yukta person who is integrated, self-restrained person is a real yogi according to Shree Krishna. And his vision is also the same in all the living beings. He says he's Samadarshi, like he sees Suran, Mitra, Udasina, Madhyastha, Dvesha, Bandhushu. In all these friend, foe, detached, mediator, rival, relative, saint, or a sinner, this person sees the same thing. Is Samadarshi. He sees the sameness of vision everywhere, and that person is a unique person. Samabuddhi Vishishyate. That Samabuddhi person is a Vishishyate. He is a great Purusha. He is a Mahapurusha. And now from the 10th to the 17th, 8 shlokas, Bhagavan describes some of the important instructions for meditation. He says this yoga is done by becoming, this person does yoga by becoming a yogi. Yogi yunjita satatam, continuously performs yoga sadhana indefinitely, atmanam rahasya stitaha, by contemplating on his or her own atma swarupa. Ekaki yata chittatma, sits in isolation, does not sit in between too many people. Nirashira aparigraha, does not have any expectations or desires. Only then we can do meditation. Aparigraha means becoming a non-possessor, does not achieve or wants to possess a lot of things. Otherwise, even in meditation, we'll have those kinds of desires. And what are those outer preparations for meditation? Bhagavan says, Shuchau deshe pratishthapya, sit in a very clean place, positioning with an asana, sthiram asana atmanaha. That seat must be established with an asana. Natyuchritam nati nicham, neither which is too high nor too low, not somewhere. Chaila Jina Kushottaram, these are the 3 levels of asana that Bhagavan is describing. Kautana, and then on that the deer skin, and then on the grass. This is how they used to meditate in the ancient times. And then focusing, what we need to do while we sit on this, we have to focus our mind on the goal for inner purification. Tatraikagram manah krutva. Sitting on this seat, we have to focus our mind, yata chittendriya akriyaha, and bringing a halt to all the, the vrittis of the mind, all the senses, thoughts, mind has to come to a halt. Upavishyasane unjar, yoga matma vishuddhaye, and we have to practice meditation, focusing our mind to make it focus, steady, for purification of our inner self. And then Bhagavan describes the body posture during meditation. Samam kaya shiro grivam, all our back, head, neck, everything must be in a straight line. Dharayanna chalam stira, we should keep everything steady. And sampreksha nasikakram swam, seeing the center of our own eyebrows, not seeing Dishaschan Avalokaya, not seeing anywhere else in no other directions. And what we need to do, the condition of the mind in meditation, Prashantatma Vigatavihi, this becomes a quiet mind, free of fears, is able to meditate, established in sense control, Brahmachari Vrate Stitaha, by restraint of the mind, Manasanyamya Machittau Yukta Asita Matparaha, by concentrating on me, keeping me as the final goal, that integrated Yukta person, integrated personality sits in meditation. And now what is the benefits of meditation? Because we don't do anything without getting the results or knowing the fruits. Dhyana sadhana, Bhagavan says, Yunjan nevam sadatmanam. If somebody follows all these instructions, yogi niyata manasaha, this yogi whose mind is under control, keeps on doing meditation like this, then what is the benefit? It says, Shantim nirvana paramam. He continuously engages, he achieves eternal peace, which is his own self, which is Atma Swarupa, which is Ananda Swarupa. He gets this eternal peace, and then he starts enjoying this peace. And then what is necessary for this meditation? Bhagavan says, balanced lifestyle is very, very important for meditation. He says, one who eats too much, one who eats too little, then he is not able to meditate. Similarly, one who sleeps too much or one who sleeps too little is also not able to meditate. We must have a very balanced lifestyle so that we can go into meditation. Our lifestyle must be quite streamlined and very, very regular. And that balanced person, that Madhyam Panthi, is the most benefited from dhyana. Bhagavan says, Yukta Hara Viharasya. Our food, our activities, Yukta Cheshtasya, our actions, our activities, everything must be controlled. Yukta Sapnava Bodhasya, our sleep also must be controlled. Yogo Bhavati Dukkha. And then that person will go into meditation, which will destroy all his miseries, all his pains, will go away with this kind of a yoga. And what is the state of mind in advanced meditation? For the mind is completely under self-control, nispruha, sarva kamepyo, it detaches everything from all the worldly objects by vairagya, atmani eva tishtati, remains steady in the atma by abhyasa, by withdrawing from the anatma, and that yogi is called a yukta yogi, and this comes with a lot of practice in meditation. So what is the process in meditation? What do I have to do in this Vedantic meditation? We have to understand that I am not this anatma. Neti, neti, neti. I'm not this body. I'm not this sense. I'm not this mind. I'm not this intellect. But what am I finally? Is the Atma Tattva. I'm that pure consciousness. I'm the Sakshi Swarupa. I'm the observer of everything. And then finally from Sakshi Swarupa, we have to understand that I'm the Sarva Vyapak Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya, understand the Aikya, the oneness. And this is the entire process of meditation, which takes years to develop and to become firm in our self as we keep doing meditation. And what is the climax of meditation? Bhagavan is describing the mind becomes like a lighted lamp which is left in a airless place. Just like a lighted lamp, yatha dipo nivatastho, nengate sopamasputa, does not waver, na ingate, does not waver. Similarly, yoginaha yatachittasya, by control of his mind, yunjato yogamatmanaha, keeps meditating on the self Atma Swarupa. It does not waver. His mind is completely focused on his Atma Swarupa, just like a lamp does not waver. And yogi who has attained this divinity is completely fulfilled. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. He says the mind becomes very still by the practice of meditation, and with this pure mind intellect, he sees his own self as completely satisfied in his own self. There is no yearning for outer objects. And this is what Dhyanabhyas is, that I have to understand. I am the Sakshi, awareness of all the three states, Jagrata, Swapna and the Sushupti. I am the awareness of that state. And all these three states come and go, but my real self, Atma Swarupa, is constant, unchanging. And in this true self, I need to steady my mind. Atma Sanstam Manah Krutva, mind needs to be steadied on this Atma Swarupa to feel that inner peace, that inner bliss that is within us. And the goal is to become one with the divine consciousness, Sakshatkar or Aikya. And then Bhagavan says the real peace is inside us, which is much superior to the sense pleasures. He says Sukham Atyantikam, the eternal bliss, the best, highest bliss or happiness is experienced in our own purified mind. In intellect cannot be perceived by sense organs. One who knows this state of happiness, that person does not waver from this tattva or this state. And the types of our happiness or sukha, there are different types of sukha. Bhagavan here says Atyantik sukha, which is the param shanti or highest form of happiness. But the Vishaya sukha, that is we experience when we interact with the objects, with our sense organs, either it is by thinking of the mind, chintanik, or abhimanik, by our pride of our wealth, our land and our possessions. But then this is very transient. Higher sukha than this is the laya sukha, which we experience in deep sleep, sushupti. But that is also anitya as we wake up, and it's also tamoguna. And then the samadhi sukha, a meditator who experiences in samadhi, also it is a sattvic sukha, but that also is anitya because it lasts till the samadhi lasts. Whereas the atma sukha, the atyantik sukha, the brahma jnani, the atma jnani who experiences this divine sukha, it is nitya, it is a sattvic sukha, and this is experienced by this jnana, which is independent of the jiva, jagata, person, situations, and one that person feels that everything is just one. And then there is no greater benefit than knowing the self. Bhagavan says, Yam labdha chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. After knowing this tattva, he knows that there is nothing now further to be achieved in this life. This is the ultimate goal of my life, and he is not perturbed. Dukkena gurunapi vichalyate, not perturbed by the greatest of pains, because he gets the immense pleasure of life, and he gives up all the illusions. Giving up of all the illusions, Bhagavan says, is true knowledge. Tam vidya dukkha sayoga yogam yoga sannitam. Know that the understand that the reality is that all these illusions that we have had in our life, if we renounce all these illusions, that itself, dukkha, sanyoga, viyoga, that itself is a true meaning of yoga, that is union, because this is all, because of Jnana, lot of misconception, misunderstanding we have had, and this we have to relieve. That itself is that dukkha, sanyoga is the viyoga, that is the yoga, Bhagavan says, and this yoga sadhana that should be done sanishchayena yoktavyo, with a firm resolution, yoga nirvinna chetasa, anirvinna chetasa, with a lot of enthusiasm, chetasa, with a lot of awareness, without getting tired. We need to continue this spiritual journey to understand our real self. And Indriya Sanyama is the first step for the dhyana. All desires which arise out of sankalpa prabhavan kaman, we have to tyaktva sarvana sheshata, we have to be renounced completely all these desires, and only by sense organ control we can do this. And then shanai uparamayet, Bhagavan says, buddhya dhruti gruhitaya. The progress happens very slowly. We have to keep trying. Slowly we have to withdraw our mind with firm intellect, atmasanstam manah krutva, to remain firmly engrossed in our true self, na kinchidapi chintayet, without thinking or having stress of anything else. What will happen in the future? What will happen? This, that, others. No stress we should have. Continuously with firm resolution, we should keep doing this sadhana. And the mind, which is very unsteady, needs to be trained. And this is a very gradual journey. And this journey is actually maturity of the mind, is actually what is the spiritual journey all about. And this happens very slowly. We have to constantly keep on pursuing. And only with understanding the mind will get trained. And any success needs a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of patience, because spiritual journey, everything happens very slowly, and it needs a lot of steady and peaceful mind, which is very important sadhana for us on this journey. And then what happens when the mind keeps wandering? Because the mind's nature is to wander. Yato nishcharati. When the mind keeps wandering, wherever it goes out, for whatever reason it goes out, manas chanchalam astiram, mind is very agile, very unsteady. Bhagavan himself is saying this. Tatas tato niyam yaitata. From all that where it is going, we have to restrain, pakad ke usko wapas lana hai, atmanyeva vashanayet, and put it back in our atma tattva, our true self. And then what is the benefit of this kind of meditation? Yogi prashanta manasam yenam yogim sukham uttamam. One that knows this Brahma Tattva, he achieves eternal bliss, highest peace, which is devoid of any kind of dukkha, and which has destroyed all the impurities of Abha. And this inner purity is the eligibility to feel that inner bliss. Bhagavan says, one who has this kind of self-control, always constantly trying to be in the self-atma, and whose impurities are relieved, achieves this eternal bliss. Brahma sukhena Brahma sansparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. He develops this eternal bliss. One who has let all this outside happiness, then only he can have the communion with the Brahma Tattva. In the next three shlokas, from the 29 to the 31, Bhagavan gives the message of the essence of the Upanishad, the knowledge, the Mahavakya Udesha, Tattvamasi Ayam Atma Brahma, which shows the oneness between the Jiva and the Brahma. There are Tat. Tat means the Brahma Swarupa, Ishwar Swarupa, or Paramatma. And Tvam. Tvam means the Jivatma, you or I, as I understand when the Guru is giving the Uddesha. Asi is the Aikya, that is a oneness. Tat, Tvam, Asi. These are the three parts. And in three shlokas, Bhagavan talks about the three parts. In the first 29 shloka, he talks about the Tvam Pada. The 30th, he talks about the Tat Pada. And the 31st shloka, he talks about the Asi. So let us understand a little bit about the meaning of the Mahavakya. Because, to understand the Aikya, we have to understand that the literal meaning of the word, when we speak the word, that is the meaning is called the Vachyartha. The Vachyartha of Tvam, or you or I, is this body-mind complex, right? But the Lakshyartha is something that when you talk about Aikya, when there is no meaning, does not suit properly, then you have to see the Lakshyartha. And this is the implied meaning. This is not the literal meaning. And the Shuddha Chaitanya is the Lakshyartha of Jiva. Similarly, when we talk of Tat Pada, Paramatma or Ishvara, the Vachyartha is the Ishvara Swarupa as a Sopadik Swarupa, but the Lakshyartha is the Shuddha Chaitanya. So when we look at the Lakshyartha, both there is Aikya, because the Shuddha Chaitanya is the real Tattvic Swarupa, not only of Jiva, but also of Ishvara. And with this understanding, we can see the Aikya or oneness in the entire universe. or the cosmos, which is the highest principle of Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta sees the oneness in everything, and that is nothing but the Shuddha Brahma Chaitanya as the Adhisthana, as the foundation for everything, Jiva, Jagata, and Ishvara, everything. So Bhagavan in the 29th shloka says how we can see one in all the different beings. It says, Sarva Bhutas Tamatmanam. We can see one Atma Tattva in all the beings, Sarva Bhutani Cha Atmani. Whereas we can see all the beings in one Atma Tattva. So this is the vision of the Yukta Yogi after the Jnana, where he sees oneness everywhere, that I am the eternal consciousness, and all these beings, all the species, not just humans, but all the other species also have the same Atma Tattva, so we can see the oneness everywhere. Whereas Bhagavan says, Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra. He also sees me everywhere, not just in the beings, but me also he sees everywhere. So that is a Tatpad, he is also Aikya. He sees everything within me, and also I always sees me, and I also am very close to him. That is the Tatpad Aikya he shows. And in the 31st shloka, Bhagavan says he sees the Aikya between the Atma and the Paramatma, or the Jiva and the Brahma, sees me in all the beings, worships me by being one with me. This enlightened wise person lives within me and he lives in me. And this is how that wise person is able to see the oneness in all the Jiva, Jagata, and the Ishvara. And that Jnana is the same, but the expression of this Jnana is different in different wise people. Some may become an Acharya, may teach this knowledge. Some become Avdut, become recluse, and just live in their own world. So the expression may be different, but the Jnana is the same. And these wise people are extremely compassionate because they see oneness in everyone. Atma Upamyena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Arjuna. They have a lot of compassion because they see their own self in everyone. They feel Sukham Vaya Diva Dukkham Sayogi Paramo Mukmataha. They feel the pain, pleasure of others because they feel the sameness everywhere. Such a yogi is greatest in my opinion. Now Arjuna is asking a question. He's saying, Bhagavan, what you are describing is something very, very difficult. He says that mind control, what you are talking, Atma Sanyama, is extremely difficult. The yoga of oneness that you are talking, the dhyana, gnana, samatva, all this that you have spoken, yoyam yogastvaya proktaha, samyena madhusudana, etasyaham na pashyami. I cannot see that I can achieve this chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. This mind is so unsteady. It is so agile. It keeps moving. Mind is called a monkey because it keeps running or moving, going from one branch to the other. It is so chanchala that I cannot see that I can achieve this kind of a yoga. You are talking of a very highest kind of a yoga, the dhyana yoga, the gnana yoga, the samatva yoga, aikya, everything, oneness everywhere. I cannot see this. He says, chanchalami manah Krishna. He says, this mind is very restless, powerful, very pramati, balavantrudam. It is powerful and obstinate. Tasyaham nigraham manye. Ayo rivas dushkuram. It is so difficult to control this mind, just like controlling the wind. Because when there is a typhoon or a tornado, nobody can control the wind. Similarly, the mind is also very powerful, very difficult to control. It is experience of all of us that training the mind is the most difficult because it tries to work in an automated way, and that's why it is so difficult. And Bhagavan answers, beautiful answer he gives. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asanshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Gruhyate. Bhagavan says, he accepts. He says, yes, Arjun, there is no doubt that mind is very restless. Yes, there is no doubt that control of mind is very, very difficult. But he also gives a solution. He says there are two solutions, Arjuna. One is abhyasa, constant practice, and two, vairagya, by non-attachment, by real understanding, by that knowledge. If you develop a vairagya, dispassion towards all these worldly objects, and you keep on doing this abhyasa, constant practice, then only you can achieve this yoga. He says this is very important, that in the world, our mind needs to be very active because there are many activities, many vishaya. But in spirituality, we need a very steady, focused mind because there is one tattva on which we have to focus. And that's why we have to control our mind, that while it is during activity, it is doing a lot of multitasking. But when it comes to our own meditation or our own spiritual journey, we have to have a focus or a concentration of the mind. And this is achieved according to Shree Krishna by one abhyasa, regular repeated practice of all the sadhanas. may it be Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, all these Ashtanga Yoga, we have to keep doing it regularly, repeatedly. Learning any skill needs perfection. And for example, swimming or cycling, initially it will be very difficult for us to learn, but when we develop a perfection, then it becomes very automated. And quietening the mind is also a kind of a skill which we need to learn, and we need to have a regular practice so that it becomes automated for us. So we have to do all the sadhana with a lot of respect, regularity for a long period. The second solution Bhagavan is showing is non-attachment or dispassion. It is disinclination or indifference to worldly objects, but this is by the right understanding, by the maturity of our mind, so that there is no raga dvesha when we deal with the world and its objects and the people and the situations and the relationships. There is not much attachment, not much aversion, and we don't give too much of importance to these worldly objects. With the right kind of understanding, we reduce this attachment, and this is called dispassion or vairagya. And then asanya, Bhagavan says, one who does not have control over his own self, what happens? Asanyatatmana yoga, dushprapaiti nimati. I tell you that dhyana yoga or meditation or atma sanyama yoga is not possible for that person. But person who has only control over his self, he can do meditation, is possible, dhyana yoga is possible. And by this sadhana, this is my firm opinion. If you want to change your habits, you have to keep practice indefinitely and focus on your goal. And now Arjuna asked another question. He wants to know that suppose somebody is not able to fulfill this goal, he is on his path, he is on the spiritual journey, but he is not able to, for some reason, he becomes yoga brashta, he is not able to reach his goal. And then suppose his body comes to an end, what happens? What is his onward journey? What is his gati? That's what he wants to know. That's why he says one who has faith, who lacks some efforts, mind gets diverted, who does not achieve the goal, what is his onward journey? Bhagavan says, and he says he has a fear. He says, Kachino bhaya viprashta, chinna brahmiva nashyati. Does he get just destroyed like a cloud when it gets destroyed in the sky? Or if he does not reach the yoga marga, does he have an onward journey? And it tells Bhagavan that only Shree Krishna, you are capable of destroying this doubt of mind. No one else can know this. No one else has the power to destroy, clear this doubt. He has immense faith in Shree Krishna, because he knows that he is now Ishvara, he is the all-knower. He knows what is the gati, the onward journey of yoga brashta. And Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Bhagavan gives a lot of solace to Arjuna. He says, oh Partha, don't worry, relax. One who has done some actions, karma yoga, bhakti, any elevating action, he does not get destroyed. In this world or the other world, nothing goes in vain. On this spiritual path, whatever you do, little thing you do, nothing goes in vain. There is no downward journey. Durgatim tata gacchati. It does not go down. Always there is elevation. And how does that elevated journey happen? What is that onward journey of the yoga brashta? Bhagavan describes that with this punya of his previous loka, he achieves a higher loka, either a swarga loka or a brahma loka or any of the higher lokas. And thereafter staying and enjoying this punya for many, many years, Shashwati Sama, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. Then he has to take birth on this Martya Loka again in a good family, dharmic family, or a Shuchinam or Srimatam, or a prosperous family, where he can again resume his yoga sadhana. Or Athava, he says, Yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam. He takes birth in the family of yogis or the learned, and this is even more rare in this world that he comes back to this family of yogis, because here he can have a opportunity to restart his yoga sadhana. And how does that person start the yoga sadhana onward journey? Tatratam buddhi sanyogam lavate pauvadahikam. All his previous birth related sanskaras that were there, they get ignited again, and he starts with his buddhi yoga. He starts his sadhana, his efforts to reach the goal, and this is how he can reach the goal. By the previous sanskara, sadhana induces him to an onward journey by desire to know the truth. Jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate, and he transcends all these worldly actions which are prescribed in the Veda and understands the Shuddha Atma Tattva. And that's why satsanga and all the other good sadhanas are important in our life. So spiritual progress, Bhagavan says, are efforts which are done for aneka janma sansiddha, require many lives. It is not that in one life we will attain the ultimate perfection. It is not possible. It is an effort of many lives. Finally, yato tato yati param gatim. Then only one achieves this freedom, this moksha. And that's why we need to understand this. And finally, coming to the conclusion of the Adhyaya, Bhagavan praises this yogi, this yoga purusha who is on this yoga patha, who is doing the dhyana, gnana, self-restraint, meditation, dhyana sadhana. Bhagavan says, Arjuna, in my view, yogi is superior to an ascetic, a tapasvi. Yogi is superior to a pandit, a gnani who is understanding, who has knowledge. Yogi is superior to a karma yogi. And therefore, Bhagavan says, Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. Arjuna, that's why be a yogi. Do your Atma-Sanyama, have restraint over of mind. No single sadhana is good enough. That is what we need to understand. Guruji tells us that all the sadhana, Karma-Yoga, Bhakti-Yoga, Atma-Sanyama, Dhyana-Yoga, everything is important. There is not just that we have to do, just take one sadhana and use it, but everything is important. Finally, in the end of Adhyaya, Bhagavan says, who is the best yogi? He says, out of all the yogis, yogi nam api sarvesham, madgate nantaratmana, the one who worships me, Shraddhavan bhajate yoga. One who worships me with a lot of faith, with complete faith, utmost faith, te me yukta tamam kaha. He is the best yogi in my opinion. Bhagavan says to Arjuna that you become a devotee and worship me, because from now on, from the 7th Adhyaya, is now starting about devotion, tattva, Ishwar tattva, and a lot of about devotion, bhakti. Is from the 7th to the 12th Adhyaya. Bhagavan is going to talk about bhakti, and that's why whenever we do any conduct or vyavahar in our daily life, we should remain connected with the Almighty, with the divinity. And the goal is to see one, sarvatra samadarshanaha, that aham, I, is the same as the sarvavyapaka shuddha chaitanya. I'm limitless, I'm not just limited, but this is the essence of the Upanishada. And this is a knowledge which is experienced by the Mahapurusha. They have sarvatra samadarshana, and the bhakta will see God everywhere, whereas the gnani will experience his sakshat aparoksha chaitanya as everywhere. And this, their vision is not on the karya or the nama rupa, because they know that the real essence, the tattva, is behind this. It is a karana, which is Brahma, and this they can achieve only by laya chintana. There are different ways, prakriyas in Vedanta, how we can do meditation by laya chintana. From karya we can go towards karana, and Brahma is the karana of everything, and that's how we can understand this divinity. So spiritual journey of our Adhyatmic sadhana is changing our old habits to new ones, and Bhagavan is telling us there is no failure, there is only progress. Whatever we do, it will help us, not in this life, in the afterlife. Nothing goes in vain. There are many opportunities, many sadhanas. Every opportunity is a learning chance. We should change our vision with the right understanding, with a positive attitude. It takes time. Don't lose hope. It takes many lives. Bhagavan says there is no comparison, no competition with anyone, because everyone is at a different level. We don't know who is at what level. So we should just try to do what best we can. Bhagavan says we have to elevate our own self by our own self. And that's how we should pursue on this path. So we come to the end of the 6th Adhyaya. Om Tat Satiti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shree Krishna Arjuna Samvade Atma-Sanyama Yogo Nama Shashtodhyaya. I have to pay my respects and gratitude towards Almighty, with whose grace everything is possible. Pay my respects to the Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved and transmitted to reach us. Pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures and share this understanding with you. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.